No, that doesn't look scary at all. Hello Whovians, it's Time Lord Myth here, and today we're going to be looking at the classic Doctor Who monster, the Sontarans. If this is your first trip to the classic Whovian, thank you so much for joining us, and if you want to impress all your friends with your in-depth knowledge of Doctor Who facts and trivia, then hit the subscribe button, and that way you'll always get hold of our videos. Okay Whovians, well, the Sontarans, affectionately known as potato heads, okay, hence the reference to the introduction, okay, were created by legendary Doctor Who writer Robert Holmes. Now, Robert Holmes created the Autons. He'd also written a story for the Patrick Troughton era, the Smugglers, so he had a good association with Doctor Who. And the story he introduced the Sontarans in was called The Time Warrior, and this was interesting for a couple of reasons. First off, it introduced us to Elisabeth Sladen as Sarah Jane Smith, who stows away on the TARDIS, which seems like, you know, like the most logical thing to do, because most companions seem to do that unless they're invited. And of course, at first when she finds herself in medieval England, she thinks it's like, you know, some sort of role-playing thing going on, you know, maybe a reenactment, and of course we know better. Now, the story of Time Warrior is actually quite clever. It concerns scientists who are disappearing, top scientists, and UNIT becomes involved, and they keep the scientist in what they hope is a secure base, but they keep disappearing, and the Doctor uses some sort of device to find out what's happening, and he sees an image and realizes these scientists are being captured and taken back through time, and so he follows them. Now, Sarah Jane Smith basically gets into the complex by telling a little white line saying she's her aunt, Lavinia Smith, and she actually stows aboard the TARDIS and follows the Doctor because, as a journalist, she has a nose for what's going on. And we find out that the Doctor has tracked down the time signal down to the Middle Ages, or, you know, England's medieval period, and there's a castle that's been abandoned by a nobleman and taken over by a band of rogues led by Bloodaxe, and he has discovered a Sontaran ship, and the Sontaran needs to repair it, and that Sontaran is Linx. Anyway, as the story progresses, there's typical Robert Holmes' wonderful dialogue and wonderful sense of period. And one of the characters in there is Lady Eleanor, whose husband is rather weak and ineffectual. His castle is, you know, under siege from these band of rogues who are determined to take everything he has. And Lady Eleanor is played by the one and only wonderful June Brown, who plays Doc Cotton on EastEnders. And Sarah Jane Smith is convinced that the Doctor is involved in this, you know, he's all responsible for it. And Robert Holmes wrote a wonderful line that, you know, Lady Eleanor says it's something, oh, these wizards are ever, you know, an insidious bunch, or something along those lines. Really well done. Anyway, the story progresses and we learn about the Sontarans. They're a race of warriors. They only have one weakness, which is the probic vent in the back of their neck, which is what they basically feed from. or draw energy from. And Linx is, in return for, having headquarters to get his ship repaired and kidnapping all these scientists, he's providing, these rogues with weapons like rifles and that. And the Doctor realises that, hey, if you do that now, you're mucking up the whole timeline, because humanity will have atomic bombs by the 16th century and basically wipe them out. And Sontarans don't care about that sort of thing. He just wants to get back to the glory of war. Well, Sontaran Linx was played by Australian actor Kevin Lindsay. Now, there's a wonderful Easter egg. I'm not sure if this falls into the category of Easter eggs, but I'm going to call it that for the sake of nothing else I can't think of. But when the Sontarans made a return appearance in the David Tennant era, Donna Noble, played by Catherine Tate, is trapped in the TARDIS, which is being transported up to Sontaran mothership. And the Doctor calls her and she says, "I can't go outside, I'm surrounded by Sontarans." And he goes, "Sontarans?" She goes, "Yeah, what?" Well, there in the DVD extra section, there's a lovely story that Elisabeth Sladen tells about how they're having a break from filming. And Kevin Lindsay's, up on the set having a fag, cigarette, and they start talking. And she says, he mentions the Sontarans, and she says, "Oh, Kevin, I think it's pronounced Sontarans." And he said, "Look, Liz, I'm one of them. I should fucking know how it's pronounced." And I thought that was classic. And Russell T Davies must have remembered that or decided to use that with that scene with Donna Noble. So if you haven't seen that, then definitely check out the Time Warrior and the special features, because it's great. Now, we didn't get to see the Sontarans again until the Sontaran Experiment, which was in the Tom Baker era. And in a lot of ways, that was a lot darker, I just found it very, very disturbing, because this Sontaran is on Earth and is basically experimenting with humans to see their physical and mental capabilities. He's torturing them basically, but to him it's just scientific data. He wants to see how long humans can last without water, without food, how much weight they can bear, all those sort of things. And I found that much, much more disturbing. The scenes of men being tested by a Sontaran, and of course Sarah Jane's there, and she saw the original Sontaran, and when he removes his helmet, she goes, "Linx," and it's Field Marshal Steyer. And of course that's how we get to know that all Sontarans look the same. The next appearance was in the Invasion of Time, and they were meant to be the surprise villain, because the Doctor is apparently helping this alien race called the Varden to invade Gallifrey. And when we get to see the Varden, they're human, and we think, oh, that's a bit rubbish. And because they're shielded, they come across as crinkly, silvery, outliney things, which was all done on the cheap at Doctor Who with tinfoil. But then we find the real villains are the Sontarans, and it's the first time we actually get to see a bit more of the Doctor's TARDIS, where the Sontarans are chasing him through the different levels of the TARDIS, and the budget really shows through on that, because the TARDIS interior looks like an abandoned factory, which I think, from memory, I think it was. So that's the next appearance we get. Then we also got to see them in the Colin Baker story called The Two Doctors. Now, in this story, the Doctor, the second Doctor, is basically trying to stop time experiments that the Time Lords are concerned about. Now, I'm not going to go into this story because I'm going to talk about it in our series on the different Doctors, okay? But you have to feel sorry for the poor guys playing the Sontarans in this, because John Nathan Turner, the producer, sent them all to Spain in the middle of summer. Now, the actors were really feeling uncomfortable, so can you imagine under those rubber masks and those heavy costumes? And they didn't look the best. I mean, the actors obviously didn't feel the best, but the Sontarans looked a bit ragged and a bit, well, you know, like they needed, you know, a bit more work on the costume, okay? So there you go, Time Lords. There we go. There's my review or look back at the Sontarans. Now, I hope you found it interesting. And check out those DVDs and check out the special features, because you learn a great deal from that. And I'll be back again next time with another video in our series. And if you've liked this one, let me know what you think of the Sontarans. Are they one of your favourite villains, okay? What do you like about them? What don't you like about them? Let me know in the comments section, okay? And until next time, this is Time Lord Myth signing off, saying I'll see you again somewhere in time and space. Bye for now.